there, I'm Lance, and this is Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are hard to master. And in this video, I'm going to be taking a look at two expansions for Viscounts of the West Kingdom. This is from Renegade Games and Garfield Games. And so on this side we have the Gates of Gold expansion, and on this side we have the Keeper of Keys expansion. Now, both of these expansions have come out recently within the last year or so, and they've got jam-packed full of content to add to the base game of Viscounts. That's what I'm going to be calling it in this video, Viscounts for short. And Viscounts, the base game, is going to be a game in which you are going to be moving your Viscount and a rondelle type board in a circle around the board, trying to get to different locations to do different actions. It's a little bit action selection because you're choosing which locations you want to move your Viscount to take different actions, but it's also hand management because you have a lot of cards that you are going to be playing throughout the course of the game, and the type of cards that you play dictate where your Viscount can go, how far they can travel, and what type of actions they can do when they get there. And ultimately what you're going to be trying to accomplish in the game is having the most points by building buildings, having journaled scrolls, being able to build buildings. There's a lot of things kind of going on in play with this game. Also trying to get your guys in the center castle. There's a lot of mechanics involved with it. It's a pretty dense game, and it's a bit of a learning curve to wrap your mind around. It's not the most complex game in the West Kingdom series of games, but it is pretty high up there as compared to some of the other ones in the series. So as it is a little bit of a learning curve there. But it's one that I absolutely really enjoy. I like it. I would say that it's probably my favorite in the West Kingdom series of games, or maybe it's right there behind Paladins, which is probably the most complex game in the series. But I really do enjoy this game quite a bit, so I was very interested to check out both of these new expansions to see what they have to add to the game. I'm going to go ahead and move them off frame here, the boxes anyhow, and we'll take a look at what content you have here in each of these expansions. So you can see here that I've got them divided up into two different piles here. We've got the Gates of Gold expansion over here on this side of the board, and then we have the Keys of the Kingdom over here on this side. So I'm going to briefly tell you what comes in each of these expansions and share my thoughts on them and what they add to the game. So the Gates of Gold expansion over here, we're going to have 5 new hero townsfolk cards. So you're going to add this to your normal deck of heroes, and these are going to be the heroes that you can pick at the beginning of the game that spice up what you have available to you with your starting hand of cards. You get 5 new choices here. That's really cool. You're also going to have 28 new neutral townsfolk cards that you're going to shuffle into the deck. They're going to have different actions and icons on the top here. And so that's just going to add extra value into your deck of cards. 28 is quite a bit of new cards to be able to add. Now, the meat of this expansion is really going to come from these two decks of cards here. You've got King's Order cards and you've got the Outsider cards. Now, what this is going to add, you're going to get lots of new choices to be able to make in this expansion. You're going to be deciding whether you're going to let these outsiders stay in your kingdom, or if you're going to kick them out, if you're going to banish them. And each choice you make changes the benefits that you get. You will be taking on corruption in the case that you take them in, because they're outsiders and they're not trustworthy folk, but they are going to provide a lot of in-game scoring abilities for you. So you could take that risk and take on the corruption by letting them in, because they're going to score you lots of points at the end of the game. And each of these are completely different, the different ways that they score for you. And so that's a really cool experience to have in the game. I really enjoy it. It's probably my favorite addition with this expansion. The King's Order cards, that's how you are going to be taking on these outsiders, by getting yourself a King's Order card. And the king is telling you to let them in. So do you go along with what the king says, or do you throw that order away? Right here, you do have a new AI reference card for solo mode. So the solo mode is going to change a little bit based off of this. This is not the same reference card for what you have in the base game with the solo mode. So that does change it up just a tad. Then you're the other big part for this expansion, you're going to have the manuscripts board here. And now each player is going to have their own. And there is a little bit of difference here because you can see that your column here on the far left is already going to have one manuscript underneath it, and each is going to have a different colored banner starting the game with. So depending on which one you get, you will already have one manuscript for that particular color. And what this is going to do for you is that once you get manuscripts down here on the other colors, you're going to have the choice to be able to take on new different type of resources or actions abilities in exchange for the manuscript. So it's another little extra choice to make. If you're not thrilled with what the manuscript has, you can take that resource up above and be able to get something of value out of it rather than just be stuck with what was on the manuscript. And because sometimes you're just taking those manuscripts to get the colored banner, not so much for what's on it. And this is a little nice value to be able to give you an extra choice to change up what you're getting from that and still add to the different colored ribbon for those end game points with the set collection. You do have 5 extra new manuscripts that are going to be added into the game. So just a little variety there with those manuscripts. And then the last chunk here of what you have with this are these little mini cards. Now you're going to have 6 building cards that you're going to shuffle these up and only select one each time you play. But this is going to give extra value victory points to the first player who gets one of each of the 3 different types of buildings. So this is 3 different types of buildings, so an extra goal to be working towards when it comes to building those buildings. And same idea here, you're going to shuffle these up, select one to play for that particular game, and it's going to give 2 points to the player who is able to get 3 buildings of the same type. And so another goal to be working for. Now, they are also going to give you an action that you will get to do throughout the course of the game if you have that card. And so there is something more for you just than the in-game victory points. And then the last little deck of cards here, these might look familiar because they're very similar to the card that you have in the base game for whoever has the majority of workers in the center of the castle. This just gives you a little bit of variability for what the benefit is to having the majority in the center of the castle. Not only do you get the 3 points at the end of the game, but now there are a variety of different benefits, ongoing benefits for that particular player. And so that just spices up the game quite a bit there. So you can see that majority of what comes in the Gates of Gold expansion is going to add more variety, more goals to be working through, more choices for you, and then just extra cards, basically, extra heroes, extra townsfolk. And so I like to think of the Gates of Gold expansion as being more choices, more extra, if you will, with this particular expansion. I really like it. I feel like it adds quite a bit. It's a lot of value for your money, for bang for your buck with this particular expansion. Now, coming over here and taking a look at the Keys of the Kingdom expansion, we're going to take a look at what we have here. Now, you do have more hero townsfolk cards. You get 10 in this expansion, so that's twice as many as what you have in the Gates of Gold. And so you get a lot more choices when it comes to this. And then the reason probably why they include more heroes in this is because you have also right here new player cards. And you can see that these are 0.5 increments. And so that's going to change up where you might start the game, because you might actually start on the center ring in this, and that's really cool. But this changes how you start the game and the resources that you'll start with. So there's a little bit of spiciness there with that. The other big addition with this expansion is that each player is going to have 3 new starter cards that you're going to replace the Lender, Trader, and Journeyman cards from the base game. You're going to replace them with these cards here. And so that's going to change up what abilities that they're going to give you. It's not a huge change, but it is a little nice extra addition because these cards are better than the ones that come in the base game. So that will get you started and get you moving quicker, faster in the game. You're also going to have new neutral townsfolk cards here. So just like you had here over with the Gates of Gold expansion, you're going to have new cards to add to the deck. You are going to have a new solo ability card. So this is going to change solo mode up again for you a little bit. And down here, another huge chunk to add with this game are these chest tokens. Now, these chest tokens, they're going to be something for you to take whenever you come across any cards in this expansion that give you the ability to take a chest. And what this is going to do, you're going to select one of the slots where you're playing, where you're moving your cards on your home board over one when you play a new card. And depending on what type of card, so if I got my Journeyman here and my Journeyman slides over into this spot because he's got 2 money bags, I can fire this token away and it's instantly going to give me a gold. And so these tokens are more than likely going to be giving you more resources or more actions abilities to be able to do on your turn, more money. And not only are they going to be doing that for you, but they're also going to be giving you points. You'll get 2 points if you're able to get one of these under one of the slots on your board. You'll get 5 points if you're able to fill up 2 of your slots. And if you get all 3 of your slots filled up, then they're going to give you 9 points at the end of the game. And you can see that there are a lot of tokens here, and so lots of chances to be able to get yourself more points, but also more resources in this game. Now, in the solo mode, you do have tokens here for the AI opponent to be able to do this as well, and that really does make the AI a lot more challenging. So if you're a solo player, I do think this expansion is something that you really got to look at, because this expansion really does spice the solo mode up quite a bit. It also ratchets up the difficulty, I feel like, because the solo mode is very challenging with this expansion. It's challenging without it. This makes it even more challenging. Now, you do have more manuscripts tokens here, 5 new manuscripts to be working with. But you also have, and here's the other big chunk with this expansion, you also have these neutral buildings. They're not really neutral buildings, but they're in a gray neutral color because they don't belong to any one particular player. It's the first player who can afford to build one of these gets to do so. And it's not just affording to be able to build it, because you also have to have 2 of your own out already on the board of that particular building, and you replace one of your buildings with this building. And so you're losing one of your buildings by putting this out there, but it does give a good chunk of victory points, as well as a nice action, a nice ability on the bottom here. And so that's something else to be working towards. I will say it does feel like you're giving up a little bit to be able to get one of these, because you have to take back the building that you've already put out there. So like if I've got 2 of these huts already out on the board, I have to take one of mine back off of the board to put this out there. So it does feel like I'm losing a little bit whenever I put these out there. So I don't know how I really feel too much about that. As it is, there are lots of things to like about this particular expansion, because it changes up the way you start the game, and that really gives you a lot of flexibility starting the game and putting your strategy into play. There's also lots of more resources. So I feel like the Keys to the Kingdom expansion is a more forgiving expansion. It makes the game a little more free-flowy. So if you're somebody who likes to feel like you have more ability to be able to do what you need to do on your turn, the Keys to the Kingdom expansion is going to give you the keys to the kingdom. It's going to make the game easier in a sense. If you're somebody who doesn't like that, who likes a more punishing experience and you really have to work for everything that you get in the game, then that might not be the one for you. I feel like the Gates of Gold expansion may be more your style, because it does feel more strategic, lots more choices for you to make in it, and you're not getting an abundance of resources in that expansion. You're really having to weigh your choices out, and there's more risks involved with the choices that you make in the Gates of Gold expansion. Now, as it is, Combining both of these expansions together provides a really cool experience because you are getting tons of resources, but you're also having lots of choices to make and lots of risks that you will be taking along the way. I will say it does lengthen the game quite a bit because you're just learning more material. Even after you've learned it and you've played it, there's still lots more choices to make on one person's turn. So turns tend to be a bit longer than they would in the base game. But that's usually the case when you're looking at a game as dense as Viscount, excuse me. And so when you add more choices to an already pretty dense game, it is going to lengthen it quite a bit. I love Viscounts. I like both of these expansions. If I had to pick one over the other, I am going to go with the Gates of Gold expansion, but I think both of them really have a lot to offer, and I think they're both good value for your money. They provide different experiences, so it doesn't feel like they're both the same, and you really could just say, well, I just want the one. I do think they add a lot to the game, and there's both pros and cons with both of the different expansions. Again, the Keys to the Kingdom is going to be better for solo players, I feel like, and the Gates of Gold is going to be more for expert, heavy gamers. If you're a casual gamer, maybe you don't want the Gates of Gold, and maybe you want the easier experience that comes with the Keys to the Kingdom. So it's really up to you to decide what one works the best for you. Ultimately, the question that I know a lot of you are going to be asking is, can you fit it in the main box? And yes, you can. It is a very tight fit because this box is already really small to begin with. It's not your average size box, but it is possible to fit everything from both expansions in the base game with the base game, obviously. Now, I will say it's probably easier to do it with some sort of insert. Or maybe it's not actually, because you're going to have an actual insert. I don't have an insert in mine. I've taken it out. Everything's in bags. And so I'm able to do it like that. I don't know if maybe if you did have an insert, maybe it wouldn't be possible. But as it is, you can do it. You can make it work and save yourself some space on your shelf, as well as taking it to board game events and game nights. It's easy to do that and take everything that you need with you. So the game is Viscounts of the West Kingdom. It is from Renegade and Garfield Games. We've got the Gates of Gold and the Keys to the Kingdom expansions added with it. If you like this game, leave me some comments down below. Let me know what you think about it. If you don't like it, leave me some comments below. Let me know what you think about it. If you tried these expansions, let me know your thoughts on them. Tell me which one you like more, what one plays better with your style. If you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon to be notified of all of our great new content. I'm Lance, and this is Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are hard to master.